Los Angeles, 1985, a place known for sunshine, palm trees, and movie stars, suddenly found itself fighting an invisible enemy. Doors were locked, windows were barricaded, families slept with lights on, because someone was out there, a shadow who slipped into homes at night, without warning, without pattern. A man the media would come to call the Night Stalker. This is the true, verified story of Richard Ramirez, a life shaped by violence, fear, and darkness long before he terrorized California. Before we start the story of Ricardo Ramirez, please support us. Subscribe to our channel, like this video, and drop a positive comment about it. Thank you. Let's get this story started. Ricardo Leyva Munoz Ramirez was born on February 29, 1960, in El Paso, Texas. His childhood was not peaceful. Far from it. His father, a former police officer from Mexico, struggled with anger and discipline. Richard often sought escape outside the home, spending time with his older cousin Miguel, a Vietnam veteran. Miguel's influence was disastrous. He exposed young Richard to disturbing stories and behaviors no child should ever witness. Investigators later connected this early environment to deep psychological disturbances Ramirez carried into adulthood. By his teenage years, Ramirez was using drugs, drifting from school, and committing petty crimes. The line between thrill and violence began to blur. In the early 1980s, Ramirez moved to California, spending time in both Los Angeles and the Bay Area. He lived transiently, cheap hotels, stolen cars, and late-night roaming. Police would later learn that Ramirez's crimes did not begin in 1985. They stretched earlier, including confirmed attacks in 1984. But at the time, authorities had no connected evidence, no suspect, and no idea what was coming. By 1985, the Night Stalker campaign had begun. Ramirez's crimes were random. That's what terrified the public most. There was no pattern to age, gender, or neighborhood. His victims included both men and women, both young and elderly. He entered homes through windows, unlocked doors, or garages. Sometimes he stole valuables. Sometimes he left symbols behind. And sometimes nothing at all. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department and the LAPD worked together, sharing evidence, pulling prints, and interviewing witnesses. But Ramirez moved fast. He struck in different counties, disappearing before anyone could react. His surviving victims described a tall, thin man with long, dark hair and decayed teeth. Police circulated composite sketches, but nothing stuck. Night after night, fear spread. Hardware stores couldn't keep locks in stock. Gun purchases spiked. For the first time in decades, L.A. residents felt hunted. Ramirez's downfall began with forensics. Crime scene investigators lifted a single fingerprint from a stolen Toyota in 1985. The print was run through a newly upgraded database and matched a known offender, Richard Ramirez, date of birth, 1960, criminal history, car theft, drug charges. Police now had a name, a face, and a suspect. The media released his photo to the public on August 30th, 1985. And that was the day everything changed. The next morning, Ramirez took a bus from Tucson back to Los Angeles. He walked into a convenience store and immediately recognized something was wrong. People were staring at him, whispering. pointing at a newspaper with his face on the front page. Ramirez fled, sprinting through streets, attempting to steal multiple cars. But the neighborhood recognized him as the Night Stalker. A group of residents surrounded him, detaining him until police arrived. For the first time in months, Los Angeles exhaled. The nightmare was over. The next morning, Ramirez took a bus from Tucson back to Los Angeles. He walked into a convenience store and immediately recognized something was wrong. People were staring at him, whispering, pointing at a newspaper with his face on the front page. Ramirez fled, sprinting through streets, attempting to steal multiple cars. But the neighborhood recognized him as the Night Stalker. A group of residents surrounded him, detaining him until police arrived. For the first time in months, Los Angeles exhaled. The nightmare was over. Ramirez's trial began in 1988 in Los Angeles. It was one of the most expensive, complex, and heavily attended criminal trials in California history. Ramirez was charged with 13 counts of murder, 5 counts of attempted murder, 11 counts of sexual assault, 14 counts of burglary. He entered the courtroom smiling, flashing hand signs, and showing no remorse. His courtroom behavior became notorious, from outbursts to unsettling statements. The evidence against him was overwhelming. Fingerprints, ballistic matches, shoe prints, stolen items, and eyewitness testimony. Ramirez was convicted on all major counts. In November 1989, he was sentenced to death. His response? Big deal. Death always went with the territory. Ramirez spent more than 2 decades on death row at San Quentin State Prison. He gave interviews, but expressed little regret. Psychologists continued to study him as an example of early trauma shaping violent criminal behavior. In 2013, before his execution date was ever scheduled, Ramirez died of complications from B-cell lymphoma at age 53. Richard Ramirez changed the way Americans thought about safety. He forced people to lock windows. He pushed police departments to cooperate across counties. He helped reshape forensic science procedures and interagency communication. Most importantly, his case serves as a reminder. Evil is not always predictable. Danger does not always come with warning signs. Sometimes it walks the streets in daylight, blending in with everyone else. Ramirez wanted fame. Instead, history remembers him as the man who showed a city how fragile security can be.